Right, it's that time. Paradise episode 8. The man who kept secrets. It's the finale. Let's talk about it. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. And make sure, come back if you haven't watched it yet. Save this video. And you know I got the notes. All right, so we're jumping in. We're really going for it. We said, okay, let's go back to how this was created. So we go with the workers. So immediately when I'm noticing that, okay, we're going to be focusing on the workers for a minute, my brain immediately goes, oh, they definitely weren't on that list. So they got left behind, but ended up even being more worse than that. We're going to talk about that. But then we get to see they're like dynamic, right? So they got one man, they started calling Wakanda rude. His name ends up being Adam. And then we also have the project manager named Trent. And I just want to say this, the guy who plays Adam, I like him as an actor. I don't know your name, sir. So I know the likeliness of you coming back is small, but I would just love to see you just like somehow somebody survive. You know, but that's just me. So we basically get like a behind the scenes montage of like their friendship within the, while building Paradise. They don't know what they're building. They've been lied to, of course. And so we go in and we get to see that Trent, the project manager, and Adam become like really good friends. Like, they get really close. And so that becomes an important thing. What ends up happening is Trent, the project manager, finds out, hey, don't ask me about the chemical. I don't know what the chemical's name is. He's like, hey, we found this trace. We got to cut the site down. We can't do this. This is dangerous for my peoples. And the homeboy with the glasses, the blonde one, I don't know his name either. He was basically like, oh, I got it covered. I'll figure it out. I'll let it be dealt with. Homeboy Trent comes back the next day, assuming the next day, and he can't scan into the site. He said something wrong with something wrong. The glasses comes and he's like, hey, we're gonna let you go. And he's like, what you talking about? Like, this shouldn't be operating anymore. My men are out there. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna put some masks on. I'll make sure they're okay. Then, they're obviously gonna get sick. Basically, they boot Trent out the way. And Trent's like, I know this is more than what you're saying it is. And you're not telling me something. You're not telling us something. Basically, man with the glasses, he kind of like hints at, hey, something's coming. Like, the people I'm dealing with, like, you can't play around with them. Like, he's scared. He's shaking in his boots. And so Trent ends up having to leave. And that ends up in a whole spiral. Like, goes into a spiral. He's trying to figure out what's going on. You got all those pictures on the walls and things like that. He ends up being the one that actually shot at Cal and ended up actually shooting, I was going to say Sterling, but, X, in the first few episodes. I can't remember exactly which episode it was. Basically got that press conference outside. And so things are starting to tie in together. And so before we officially knew that Adam was sick, I was thinking, okay, maybe they're in cahoots somehow. I'm just theorizing before we're really in the episode. So we're back to the present time. Basically, X tells Robinson, hey, like, this is what I found out. Cal was not murdered by somebody, in here. Like, somebody is in here externally. They are not supposed to be here. And then we also cut to seeing the new president, the one who's always shaking in his boots. He's actually having like a little like mini notice to the people, letting people know, hey, actually, our old president, Cal, yeah, there might have been some foul play, even though they already knew, but, they're trying to be honest with the people, kind of. And then we also see Cal's son talking to the people outside again, telling people what he knows and what his father kind of left behind. And then we also see the therapist lady, Dr. Tarabi. She's trying to be like, Samantha, this isn't you, Samantha, like, you're a good person, blah, 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 all blah, 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 blah. And Samantha's basically like, this is Sinatra, girl, shush, you don't know who I am anymore. You're trying to talk to somebody who isn't here. So then we get Sinatra and Jane talking, and basically Sinatra's like, I'm trying to figure out what to do with the girl. I'm not really sure, but just like, don't do anything to her, but we're gonna figure it out. And Jane's over here talking about a we. She said, since I'm doing so much, slide me over that weed that Cal has. And Sinatra's like, girl, you crazy. Like, what are we talking about here? And Jane said, call me crazy one more time. No, but I feel like that was definitely it. But also the fact that Jane had been doing so much. And she's like, you can't even give me a wee, sis? Oh, now we got problems. I just thought that was so funny. Basically, it was like, Sinatra was like, don't hurt Presley. And Jane was like, I think we're done having this conversation right now. I'm going to end the phone call. In a nicer way. Not a nice way, but a more direct way. So X is, this whole entire time, he's trying to find some more answers. As he knows right now, his daughter's in danger. And so He ends up finding the For Jeremy mixtape. He goes ahead, listens to that. He figures out those numbers. A lot of people are theorizing like plane numbers and stuff like that. Plot twist, they actually end up being something different, but I'm not going to skip to that because I'm going to go to the next thing. Robinson actually goes to Dr. Tarabi and is basically like, hey, we need to look through everybody on this list and figure this out. Dr. Tarabi wasn't trying to hear none of that. And then Robinson was like, no. And so then they end up searching it out together. And then, so they end up finding out that something's wrong with Margaret Davis. The information that they know, the information that they've seen, is a little off. It's a little off. And Margaret is the homegirl at Dinah. Fast forward, then Sinatra gets an I handled text from Jane. So in her mind, Presley's dead. I already knew, me personally, I was like, Jane didn't kill Presley. Sinatra got on Jane's nerves, and now Jane is trying to flip the script. And so she is ahead of Sinatra, and I've been told y'all Jane was dangerous. A lot of y'all focusing way too much. Sinatra is the problem, but Jane is the true enemy at all costs. Now I was trying to figure out, like, I know she didn't kill Presley, but what is her plan? I was trying to get into her head, and that's a scary place. So I stepped down real quick. Then Dr. Tarabi and Robinson end up actually clocking Margaret. They're like, girl, you're supposed to be allergic to these little fries things with the cheese and stuff, and you're over here eating it, so you're not Margaret. And Margaret was like, he made me do it. And then back to the numbers, X, so smart. He's smart. He goes to the library and he's like, the numbers are the book. And so it ends up being a Sinatra book, but it actually ends up being the book next to it. Don't ask me about the title. I don't remember it. But if you do, put it in the comments. And then he ends up looking, he sees all of Cal's notes. Basically, it's like a detailed explanation on how to escape paradise. But the plot twist is, he finds it, and guess who pops up? Trent, but now he's bald. And he in a little, what do they call it? I was about to say tweezer suit. Tweed? Is that what? Yeah, a little tweed suit jacket. He ends up there, knocks Xavier out. When I tell you, this whole time I was like, there's no way he made it in, because in my head, they took him when he tried to shoot Cal. Well, so we get that flashback of Trent in jail, and he's talking to Adam for that one last time, and Adam basically reveals that he is in fact dying from working on the site. Trent's like, no, like, you gotta believe me, He's sad about his friend, the friend who he had been trying to get in contact with for a very long time, but he ends up, this is a specific detail, he ends up in a jail in Colorado. So he's like, hey, like, this is fate. I'm supposed to be in that site. Like, this is for real. Listen to me, Adam. And Adam's like, I'm dying, bro. Like, leave me alone. I'm not trying to hear none of that. So Trent ends up being able to fully escape that day of when everything's like going down. And he puts on one of those security guard suits, because people are dying left to right in the jail, of course. And so he ends up outside trying to like direct traffic and stuff. And so he knows information. So he's like, he goes to one of the people's cars, a couple. He's like, y'all are going to the site, right? And they're like, yeah, like, we're on the list. Here's our IDs. Like, here's our information, but we can't get through. And he's like, bet. I can help you. I know exactly where to go, but it's on foot. I said, oh, they're dying. Oh my gosh. And so he goes ahead, leaves them in the middle of the little desert area of Colorado. He shoots them, takes their stuff. Okay, he said, I'm claiming identity. So that's the beginning of his disguise. He goes ahead, make sure he looks as close as possible to the man he just murdered. And then he realizes he don't got a girl, so he sees homegirl crying in her car. She's going through it. She's smoking, she's like, sad life. She's feeling very like, I've done nothing with my life kind of vibe. And so he's like, well, perfect time. Maybe this is the time you're in the perfect place at the right time, etc. I still don't know who her real name is, but let's just call her Fake Margaret. So I will say that when they get to the site and they're scanning in, he was very smart with making sure that the girl who was scanning them in, who was starting to question him, very smart to make sure she didn't look at the picture, because that was the question on my mind. I was like, don't they have pictures of everybody? Very smart. Thank you for making sure we didn't skip that portion for Paradise Riders. You ate that. So he basically reveals to X, he was like, I got a little comfy here. To be honest, I had a mission and I stopped thinking about the mission. I was okay not being seen, being a librarian, chilling. I was living the life. I was fine with that. But then Cal, we've seen this scene already, but we didn't know because he was just hiding in plain sight. When Cal goes to the library to make that mixtape for Jeremy, who Trent sees Cal for the first time in a long time, and he's like, oh yeah, thank you for reminding me, bet I'm coming for you. We start to get things tied in how the iPad got into the bush. It was because when he caught him, Trent caught Cal, Cal was outside already, kind of like leaning over a little bit of the little balcony area. The iPad dropped, and then he had to whack Cal twice in the head, which was really rough to see. My boy James Marsden, I love James Marsden. So hard to see you go down, but let me get back to it. And then we saw him write the X on the cigarette box, and we see how, I just wish he would have stayed down the first time. Ugh. But he didn't know. He had just gotten in the head, so I get it. And then we also see how the DNA was left on the little glass, because Trent was going through it. He said, let me sit down and drink a bev, because I just murdered someone. He didn't officially murder them, but, So now that we finally know who killed Cal and how all these little random pieces came into play, Trent leaves X in the library with the book. That book is the way out. So Trent's like, bet, I'm leaving. Like, I'm done. I did what I said I was going to do. I feel terrible about the things I've done, and I'm just leaving. I'm realizing, when I said all the pieces were filled in, when Cal's dad said, I saw her that night, did we ever get an answer for that? What did I miss? Help me out. So thankfully, even after X was like, hey, don't leave me, my wife, I'm trying to get my wife, Trent did leave him, but who comes through every time? Robinson does. And so Robinson finds X, and they go after Trent. They're like, no, like, he's trying to leave. We got to go get him, because he has all the information for us. When I saw where they headed, I was immediately no on the heights. I said, I'm a little uncomfy. That's really high up for me. I didn't think that's where they were going. I'm not going to hold you. But I will say I love the set design. The set design was real good. I would have loved to be on the set for that. It was real nice. Simple but effective. And so what ends up happening is, at first Trent thinks about jumping, and then he doesn't jump. And my brain's like, oh, there's a net there. Girl, Kayvana, you're not paying attention enough, because it wasn't a net. Because I was like, oh, he's Gucci. They're above. So I was like, I'm sorry, that was me. So he was about to jump on the fake sky, which as we know is very electric. I can't give his little mini speech, his monologue justice, but I will say, like, he talks about privilege, the American dream, the bodies that have been buried over this site. Basically, he says paradise. What a effing joke. And he jumps, and that was real rough to see him jump, get electrocuted, and then keep falling. That was hard. So, X and Robinson tried to save him, but that was just, he had made up his mind before, to be honest. He was already going through the things that he decided to do. X goes to Sinatra. He's like, okay, it was the librarian. His name was Trent. Like, here's all the information. Where is my daughter? And remember, Sinatra was told by Jane that, the job was done. So this whole time, Sinatra thinks that Presley's dead, and she's going through it. She's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to go this far. X starts crying, and he's real smooth with it, because he's going down. And Sinatra, evil being, she sees him crying, but she already knows he's about to blow up. So she's already plotting with her little security guards, like, get your gun out, with the nod. Xavier already know better. He said, I know you, papa. And so he got the security guards down real quick. And then he goes ahead and he's like, to Sinatra, right in the noggin. He's thinking about it. He's very much considering. And then who pops in again? Jane does. And so Jane ends up getting her, she got the Papow, Sinatra, but she purposely does it so she does not murk Sinatra. And she ends up telling X that, hey, Presley's fine. She's been with me. I have her. But mind you, it's very much still Jane's playing the middle ground. Xavier, of course, thinking about his daughter, is not asking questions on why the heck Jane's there in the first place. And he's not overthinking the situation, which is one thing I wish he would have done later before leaving. But, that's just my thought process on that. Because Jane had not been really tapped into everything. So for me, it doesn't make sense for her to be there. So, but I just don't think Xavier was there. So much had been happening for him to even consider that. He was just like, my girl Jane's here. She got me down. In reality, Jane is a little evil person. And what does Jane say to Sinatra? She's basically like, you're good to me dead. Like, basically, like, she has plans for her. And so I'm like, oh boy, because if Jane... And then she's like, you should have gave me the weed. And yes, she should have, girl, because if that's all we needed to calm you down, maybe Billy could still be here or something. You want a Nintendo? Something. Oh my gosh. A Switch? Xavier gets to his kids, they're full safe. Like, they're with their peoples, they're good. X tells Robinson that Sinatra is down. And I love Robinson because Robinson, she always got to think ahead. And that, because X get calm too fast a little bit. Robinson was like, she's down for now. Somebody's going to take her place, or, you know, something's going to happen. Like, something's going to cook. Exactly, Robinson. And so with all this information, Robinson, like, we got to look into this. Like, we got to see what's out there. Like, that's important. And X is like, you know, what about my kids? And Robinson's basically like, I will die before I let anything happen to these kids. Like, I got you. And then another confirmation we have is Presley ends up, you know, getting more information about the book. And she's basically like, Dad, is this true? She's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, this is true. And she's like, you know, you've protected us enough. Basically, now it's time for you to go ahead and get Mom. Like, and that's a confirmation. That was a cute little moment. I really liked it. And then we finally get to hear what was on this mixtape with all this security information that we thought of. And in reality, it was seriously just a mixtape that Cal made for his son. It was a message to his son with actual music on it. We saw him downloading all the music. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to go too deep. I'm going to wait until the end. And then X is preparing to leave his kids. He's saying goodbye to everybody. And then we also jump into Cal, you know, with the message from his dad. He's going ahead and talking to more people outside and getting the message out there. Chaos has begun in the, you know, the government room because they know Sinatra is down. But, you know, the new president is growing a little backbone. He said, you know, enough. He gets them calm. Jane got her Wii. I think she was playing tennis or something. You know, she was having a blast while Sinatra over there gasping for air. And X has all the instructions, so he's literally over here prepping to fly a plane with all these notes that Cal left behind. And the last words that he has and the last words of season 1 is, I'm coming, baby. And that's where we end. Now, all in all, paradise. When I say I cannot wait to rewatch season 1, yes. When I say that these showrunners, these creators, everybody on this team knows exactly how to do a show. Yes, because guess what, team? I saw Dan Fogelman's post on Twitter. Yeah, they're starting to already do season 2 in a few weeks. They're already about to be filming. So we might get season 2, you know, maybe end of this year, maybe beginning of this year. You know, tell me if I'm jumping a little too much. But if they're already about to film and season 1 just ended, that's what I'm talking about. I'm really sad that Cal died for a decision that was not his to make. It was a secret, a man who kept secrets. It was a secret that he had to keep. He was just the wrong target. And that's just so sad to me, because especially in a time period where he was finding out the information and he was ready to tell people what was happening. It was just so much misunderstanding with his death. And that's something that's really sad, especially for someone who was trying to turn the tables around once he really knew everything, you know? It is really sad that they were like, no, this needs to get built, so you go ahead and keep building. Yeah, you're dying, and yeah, you were never gonna come down here anyway, so we don't really care. Like, that's, but for some reason, I just feel like the actor, I don't know your name, sir, the actor who plays Adam, he's too good to just be in one episode. I don't know, but I know, like, it's how you gonna survive a toxic chemical. So I don't know about that one. Marsha, you're still on thin ice, babes. Not thin ice with me necessarily, but I think Marsha's still coming back. Marsha, Edward's son, Marsha the secretary, if you don't names, because, you know, I don't know, you know, names either. I think Marsha, something's going on with Marsha. I don't know why I want Jeffrey the janitor to be around as well. Maybe it's just like certain people who really stuck with me. I just want them to exist again in season 2. I do think Terry will be found, and I think she might be found with all of them somehow, some way. I don't know. Terry knows that he was going to Colorado. Terry's around there somewhere. That period, point and blank. Whether she's still alive or not, she was around there at that time. There's people around there who's still alive who know Terry if Terry's not alive. But I really do think Terry is alive. In regards to Jane, she's unstable. I don't know how to go about her. She has plans for Sinatra, for sure. I couldn't tell you what I think those plans are. Yes, controlling Sinatra, and yes, controlling Sinatra's plans, but I couldn't tell you. Let's not forget that we have a deceased man splatted somewhere down in town. They just told everybody that Cal was a foul play death. Like, this whole entire paradise is about to become a real problem. So I don't know what Jane's plans are next. I do know, though, I see a Robinson and Jane battle going down in the future. I don't think Jane can come back to being in cahoots with everybody. Jane does have to go, and I do see a Robinson and Jane battle. And I will say I'm very excited to see the external world and what exists. And I'm very excited to see X experience that and to see what he comes back with. It's gonna eat. We're gonna be in two worlds at once. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm very excited for season 2. I hope we do get it at the end of this year. But if not, the beginning of next year. Can we get 10 episodes at least? Though, by the way. Let me know what you think in the comments. I thought it was a great finale. I think they wrapped up things very well.